In this video, I'm going to break down one of our war defeats here to try to explain a little bit more in depth about how I think about battles that we took. Obviously, hindsight's 2020. I made a lot of mistakes this war too, so this criticism is not meant to be like, oh, these guys suck and I would have been perfect. But the idea is to learn from your mistakes, and hopefully in the next go-around you won't make them again and you'll come out victorious. So that's the idea. So we just lost a battle. It's rare that we actually lose punchdowns. This was a team that was 1 million TCP below us. They're actually really good. Don't want to take anything away from them. They had a really good strategy. They were coordinated as a team. They definitely spent a lot on their refreshes, so they were organized. They had a cohesive idea. But we made a lot of mistakes, and I think that's what cost us this war. And I'm going to detail a decent amount of them. So there were some micro mistakes that I'm not going to go through in this video, but the ones that I really want to detail are, one was the tactical mistakes that we made as leaders. So I'm one of the leaders that call what room we go to, and I made some decisions, and I think my leader made some decisions that I think were wrong. Obviously, hindsight's 2020, but I'm going to detail those right now. So the first thing that we made was wrong was we were coming down FD3 side. So one reason, instead of going FD2 like many people do, is our goal is to choose kind of one or the other side sometimes, because a lot of people understand that people go middle, so they've been kind of stacking defenses there. Against a team that's actually about the equal power level, you generally want to take less gambling strategies, and picking one FD1 or FD3 is more a gambling strategy. So we probably should have went FD2 in retrospect, but that was a small mistake. The real mistake is after we took out half of hangar, we could have went bridge, or we could have full-blown hangar to go to armory. I chose to go bridge, and that was a big mistake. Basically, you want to get down the armory. The bridge is a tease. It's not really that important. You'll always have the points. The only time you should go for bridge early is if they're about to take down your armory and you know you're not going to take down their armory before, in which case you want to get as many attacks in as possible for the points on bridge. But in this case, they weren't quite to our armory yet, and I think they were still at one of our other rooms. We should have full-blown hangar and then taken armory out first and then went to bridge instead of the other way around. What ended up happening is we got through bridge and we took down their armory, and I believe we had like 2 nodes in the armory left, so we were actually quite ahead. But because we let them get so deep into our armory before we took down theirs, it just got them so many more attacks where they were able to be more efficient with them. That was one big mistake. The next big mistake was after that, we could have went Medbay or engineering. We chose to go Medbay. This is where their big defenses were, and in retrospect, we should not have taken them because Medbay is not really that useful. It's not like a huge win for us, so we should have instead taken down engineering. They would have then had no hangar, no armory, so they would have had a really tough time beating our defenses, and we would have had an easy beat to their barracks, which is probably the thing that we needed to take out next, or their reactor, which is another thing to take out next. In addition to that, taking out the engineering means that their reactor and barracks wouldn't have the bust from them, which would have made taking out reactor easier as well. We actually end up ending in a kill zone in Medbay, and I'm going to deep dive into that later. We lost, or we combat canceled 15 times, and that pretty much is what lost us the match. I think we actually did 20 times because we did 15 on Zukit and like 6 or something like that on Darth Thomas. There's just huge mistakes like that that can cost you entire matches. So yeah, if you find a really strong opponent in a room that doesn't matter, it's totally okay skipping that opponent and going for a better one instead. So those are some of the bigger transactions that we made. Another smaller one that we did was after we killed Medbay and Reactor, I thought we should kill FD1, 2, and 3 in Cargo Bay because I thought that might win us. So we instead held on to some of our bigger teams instead of going after engineering with them, and then barracks, and then having our easier teams clean up the FD1, 2, and 3 where they had fewer opponents. That was a big mistake on our part. In retrospect, we were playing to kind of eke out the win as opposed to just destroy them completely. That was underestimating their opponent. So a lot of tactical mistakes from a calling perspective, so that was definitely one big problem. Another big problem was the kill zone that we ended in Medbay. So in that, I'm going to go through each of these, and This is going to be a somewhat long video, so hopefully I'll try to speed through them as much as possible, but also give you a sense of my reasoning. So one big thing, and I'm going to talk about this in a future series, is using power armor to beat defenders. Now, this defenders team is really powerful, so I'm not necessarily opposed to using power armor for it, although what Ultra doesn't know is that because we lost our armory and they had their barracks, this team actually behaves more like a 345k team than a 300k team because of the way the STP calculation is done by Marvel Strike Force. They don't appropriately discount your lack of armory and the enemy's having of the barracks. The biggest mistake, though, that I have from this, though, is that we had another Fury Shield team that could at least seriously dent this Defenders team, and we should have used that Fury Shield team instead. So understanding what your alliance has will help you figure out if you should take this battle or not. And I would have left this battle just for that person. I knew they had it. I knew they were going to get on at some point to take them. So that's one of the things I would do. I already used my Fury Shield team. Otherwise, this is a battle I would have taken as well with my Fury Shield team. Wally's combat cancel was a little bit less problematic. It was a punch down, so that's not good to lose a punch down. But I'm guessing he just didn't understand how Sinister Six worked. They're a pretty new team, so he probably didn't bring the right tools in. My biggest problem with this is if you're going to combat cancel, you should have an understanding of what you're going to follow up with to actually beat it. Otherwise, you're probably better off just leaving a bunch of them dead and double teaming it. All right, next. So Wade cleans up that mess with his team. It's quite a big punch down. I don't think that was probably the most efficient use of our resources, but not the end of the world. Wade has a really strong roster overall, so he's probably going to have to punch down a decent amount. He probably still have a lot of teams left. Alucard tries to use Fury on Fury here. Now, you can beat this Fury team with that Fury team. That's definitely possible, but it's not always a guaranteed match. In RNG, can go the wrong way. And again, remember, they have like a plus 15% boost kind of hidden. It's much easier to use Brotherhood, and we have Brotherhood teams. There's almost their entire alliance has the Brotherhood. So you should just wait for them to use that team. In fact, I believe Alucard uses his Brotherhood instead, which he does here. And then what ends up happening is, if you were communicating, you could say that you have an Overkill Brotherhood team here. Ballantyne could have said, okay, I actually have a 170k that I think could beat that team, and it definitely could have. And then Alucard could have used his 200k team on this 250k team. We might have 2 wins instead of 1 win and 2 losses. One combat cancel, 1 loss. So that's a poor use of resources. This is the exact scenario where communicating with the rest of your alliance is really important and really useful. And deploying your resources correctly is the best way to do that. Okay, next we have a loss using a kind of a weird hodgepodge team against this team. I'm actually not sure why this team lost, so I'm kind of surprised. I'm guessing most people underestimate Hulk at a high level. They don't realize that Hulk, especially if you don't have a way to clear the taunt so you can kill all the other toons and leave him last, can really pack a punch. If you let him get offense up at like 40k and you're only like 30k and he stomps on you, it can oftentimes just one-shot your team. So like 3 guys on your team. So understanding that and not getting him that offense up before he does the big stomp is really, really important to beating these types of standalone Hulk ideas. This opponent did a lot of really good things where they would have one like 40k toon and then 1 or 2 like lower toons, or in this case 3 lower toons that weren't quite as high. So you're trying to be efficient with your attacks, in this case punching down a little bit and using hodgepodge teams. And I think that threw us off a few times. So this is really difficult, and it's really hard to explain what to take into this team. But this is where knowing the toons a lot will help, and understanding the turn order and how it will work and what you got to watch out for, what's danger points is really important. Alucard then punched down a decent amount on this other team just to clean him up. He probably was a little on tilt like I would be and probably overkilled him a little bit when he could have probably just used that team from the get-go and won. I've been there. We've all been there. It sucks. Okay, so then he does a punch across here, just cleaning up that shield team that Ballantyne wasn't able to finish. This is totally fine. This is actually a really good cleanup move with this low power, so totally good. They had a lot of small low health, so it was totally fine as well. The Miles pick to disrupt the security is a really good understanding of the tools you need to beat them. So really good pick there. Next we have Mayhem trying to punch up quite a bit on Brotherhood. And remember, with a hidden 15%, this behaves more like a 230k Brotherhood team. And 230k Defenders team. And Defenders are a soft counter to Brotherhood when you're punching down by a lot. And as you can see, that's basically exactly what happened here. I would say Brotherhood teams is just not a good use of them. So, it's a better use to use a Fury Shield team instead. And we have a lot of them. So I think the next thing he did was use a Fury Shield team on the other team, and this was a much better matchup for his Fury Shield team with the hidden boost. Oh, no, he cleaned it up with Fury Shield. He should have led with Fury Shield instead, probably, and then cleaned up with another team or something like that. Fury Shield is the counter. They can punch up quite a bit, especially when you can out-sustain them. If you know how to use them correctly, you can just turn Rewind Punisher. I have a lot of videos on this, in fact, including one, I believe, in War. I'll try to do more. This turn order, lineup order is a little bit weird. You really want your security at one end and Fury feeding your medic so she can get her heal off multiple times. I personally do security, operative, assault, medic, Fury, but I've also seen assault or operative, security, the other one, and then medic, and then Fury as well. Those are all fine. That turn order is just not quite up to snuff. Or lineup order, I should say. Okay, next thing that we have here is Phison does a victory here, 140k. It's like a punch down, but not the worst punch down, so it's not the end of the world. It's not the most efficient, but it's a hodgepodge team, so it's also not the worst. Wade did a combat cancel on his 290k team. Normally, I understand why he would think he could punch us up that much, because if we both have our barracks and armory up, it's actually not that bad of a fight. However, there's three things that I think he failed to consider. One was our barracks was their barracks was up, our armor was down, so this is actually more like a 345k team. Two is he's trying to use Trooper, and Trooper on this battle, the goal is to kill that Iron Fist, and Iron Fist is the highest level 2 in that game, so chances are you're not killing him first turn, which is also problematic. And then the third is that he's using Operative and Trooper, and his and they're kind of lower level than his Fury and his Security. So this team actually punches down, or it's not quite like a 217k team. You need more damage output to beat a Defenders team like this, where if all of them were equal, he'd have a much better shot. So that's another problem that he has with that. I think the biggest thing, though, is just underestimating exactly how much power they had, and this is just not quite big enough to beat this team. He probably wants to bring a 240k team in. Okay, Wafers. She did a great job here. This is the person that has a strong Fury Shield team. Punching up, she probably underestimated again that it was quite. This is almost like a 100k equivalent punch up. She also tried with Medic first. I'm guessing she saw that the Iron Fist was 83k and she didn't think she could beat him down with Trooper. She normally uses Trooper first. And I think because of that, she tried to use a team that she doesn't have that much familiarity with and didn't exactly know how to beat them. So she probably just might have had bad RNG, plus wasn't quite super efficient with all the timings and attacks and stuff like that. So, but she combat cancels and she brings in her tried and true team. Figures I'm just going to kill Iron Fist to make sure he goes down. She does a great job. This is perfect for that. This is a really good example of how you should do it. This is a good example of when you should combat cancel and how you immediately follow up with it. So A+ move on this. Okay, next though, this is slightly less A+ move, is where she tried to follow up with the Mystic Controller team. I'm guessing she thought she could Loki the Punisher down right away. She might have even done that, but then still lost because Daredevil probably just wrecked everybody. This is not exactly the tool set I would use to clean up, but I totally understand why she did it. It's not really the worst thing in the world. You definitely don't want to use another high-level meta team to clean up your mess, so I get it. I probably would have actually used that if everything was perfect. I probably would have liked her to use that big Fury Shield team to kill Iron Fist, and then had Mayhem use his small Fury Shield team that was only 150k or something like that to clean it up. That would have been a really good use of two meta teams that are drastically different power levels to clean this up. But that being said, The only mistake, again, is probably better communication, but otherwise she cleans up her own mess, uses all the toons that she has. They're not like the end of the world, so it's all in all okay. All right, next, Link. A couple combat cancels here. Ultra, I think, just used way too weak toons to beat that Captain Marvel. That Captain Marvel, even if you survive her ult, one person's probably crippled. I'm guessing it was Quake, might have been killed, or Hulk is too low level really to do a lot of damage here. Plus you have Reaper and Noble that just hit really hard on their first turn. So I'm guessing Ultra just didn't have the right tools. Now, one thing interesting about these Kree teams with Avengers is that you can actually beat them a lot if you get rid of the taunt and the Captain Marvel. So if he brought in a toon that would have got one shot by Captain Marvel, but survived the blast, and then had this guy taunt and then lose the other teams, he might have then been able to bring in the Avengers team and finish them off because they wouldn't have been able to taunt. Captain Marvel wouldn't have done the big move on turn 1, so he would have been able to survive it more, and then he might have been able to control. So that might have been a better move, is to pop the Captain Marvel. Link brings in a hybrid power team. Again, they're just too low level for this Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel is probably going to one-shot nuke somebody or really, really cripple them, and there's a good chance they won't survive. Most likely, because I believe we had Deflect, they survived the first blast, but then you have things like Reaper and Noble that are just hitting hard as well, and they can just easily cripple a team like this. So you have to know where you're getting into, and Power Armor is just a really difficult team to take into this at that level. Okay, but then Link, I believe, takes his strong team into another Captain Marvel team. This is totally fine. It's a little bit of punch down, but Captain Marvel is better to overkill than to underestimate her, and as you can see, almost lost still. It's definitely dicey there. So really good win there. I think that's a solid move. This next one's also solid. Punch across with junk toons, basically against their junk toons. Totally fine. Hodgepodge versus Hodgepodge. Okay, then Roger Ardente tries to beat this tech team, and I'm not exactly sure what went wrong here. It's not the best matchup for Fury Shield, but I actually would have still expected them to win. My biggest thing is I'm guessing he didn't kill the right toons in time, because you really need to kill Ant-Man so he doesn't slow your team. I'm guessing what happens, he chased after somebody, I don't know who. Ant-Man slowed, which allowed both Vision and Wasp to go. And Vision at 50k is going to kill a lot of guys, and Wasp following immediately after that, and then probably Scarlet Witch did her defense up deflect, so it just probably crippled a lot of toons right away is my best guess at what happened here. Yeah, this is tough. This is not one where I would have expected him to lose, not because I think he misplayed it, but more likely because this is a weird team. You don't see it often, so you're probably not used to fighting it. So we probably wouldn't have known. I would have been okay with him taking this team into this, so don't blame him for that. Langdon, I'm not exactly sure. I think he said he timed out in this battle. I'm not exactly sure why he lost. I'm guessing he just didn't play very fast, but I feel like he should have been able to take this team pretty easily. It doesn't seem actually that difficult for this Brotherhood team, so we'd have to figure out what went wrong there. But yeah, left the drafts. Okay, next is Gradual Ardente takes on this team and loses with his Mystic Controllers team. I think the biggest issue he had here was Daredevil is at 47k, and his Doctor Strange is only at 170k. That means Daredevil can very easily one-shot his Doctor Strange with that chain attack, back and forth. And the other key to this that he probably didn't do well was Storm is actually the most dangerous person on the team here. If you bring in, let's say everybody can survive the Daredevil chain and the Wolverine chain and stuff like that, and the bullseye burst damage, you actually don't want to focus down Daredevil because Loki's summons will stealth everybody, and a lot of times Daredevil will chase after a summon, in which case they'll dodge it and miss. So really you want to chase after Storm before she does her crowd control, which is really, really dangerous in this game. So I think this is the right tools, but probably just misplayed it a little bit because his Doctor Strange is too low and just got one shot too early. This is where he just needs to level Doctor Strange. Okay, next is This team where he just cleans it up, that's fine. Makes sense. Normal cleanup DB. It's good if you're going to lose if you know you can clean up, and it's better if you know somebody can follow you and clean up after if you mess up. So this is another place where communication is key. Okay, Easy here takes Ballantyne takes his Mystic Controllers to this tech team. I actually really like this. I just think his Mystic Controllers are too low. I think it's a really good matchup for this because you'll get Doctor Strange to do wins, which will flip everything, which is awesome. You'll be able to do a lot of control. You'll be able to make Ant-Man miss, and then Scarlet Witch extend. So hopefully, in a perfect world, you get Vision, Ant-Man, and Wasp blinded, and then you can like have Scarlet Witch extend that, and it just makes everything miss, which is super awesome. But 120k against a team that's really like 230k, just too low. That's the problem. Otherwise, nice try. Easy does a punch up with just one Captain Marvel. Even if you think Captain Marvel can sew him for damage, you really need to bring some junk teams like level 1 just to like make Drax like attack them possibly instead of Captain Marvel. It just gives you more time to do more damage. One big thing is that Drax drains on his attacks, so you have to make sure that you're doing more damage than he's draining, or you have to ability block heal block him. So that's why you usually want to take a Mordo instance or something like that. So I think he just didn't understand that. Then he combat cancels with this too, and again just doesn't understand how the drain affects him. You really need to be taking more tunes into that, so that's a big problem there. Then Ariel tries his Power Armor team against this Mystic Controller weird hybrid team that I'm not actually sure why he lost this, to be honest. I'm guessing someone got killed too early and he wasn't able to get everything off in time, but since he killed 3 guys, he's like, screw it, someone else can clean this up. I'm guessing Loki like defense down somebody, Yondu stole their like defense up or something like that, and then someone else one shot him or something like that. And that way his combo didn't go off in time. That's my best guess on this one. This is normally a matchup that I would be kind of okay with taking. I don't think it's the best use of Power Armor, but I understand why he did it. He just needs to level his Power Armor a little more. Okay, Wolfman just has like a pretty like cleanup duty here. So this is a really good use of it, and you can see like Ant-Man almost died, which means that Drax went through both his taunts before the enemy Drax died. But he brought the Mordo for the heal block, so Drax wasn't draining it, so you could just slowly chip away at him slower and slower. That's the way to do it if you're going to bring in low level tunes. And as you can see, he needed 4 of them that were around like 20k to beat the Drax. So important if you're going to take guys in that are like 1/5 the enemy's CP, you need to make sure they have the right toolkits to survive. Oops, saw this one. Okay, Blue Hawk here then takes in his hybrid team to take out another hybrid team. It's a punch down, and he's just cleaning up stuff, but I get it because they're all low-level tunes. It's better than losing. I think you might have overkilled just a little bit too much, but it's not the end of the world. It's nothing to really chastise about. Wally does a punch down here. Hodgepodge tunes against Hodgepodge tunes, totally fine. It's okay to punch down a little bit, especially when it's Hodgepodge, just to make sure you get that one shot, one kill, especially since they do have some synergy together, and his team has like no synergy together. AJ Court uses Spider-Verse against the tech team here. Spider-Verse is actually really good against tech teams because they kill all the defense ups that are going on, and then they can like do a lot of like damage with the bleeds. It's probably a little bit of overkill because of the full Spider-Verse team, but his Spider-Verse is pretty low level, so it's relatively okay. Then he uses a full boost clear team. I'm not sure why he used so many guys for this boost clear, but okay. And then he used his Midgardians to beat them. I'm guessing he uses full boost cleared because he was worried about Captain Marvel one-shotting like Rocket, which would have really just screwed that entire team over. But I actually think he probably should have just went in with Midgardian straight away. Minerva can rescue somebody, and then once you once Captain Marvel goes, you really have Rocket and Star-Lord able to nuke her down or nuke someone else down instead, and then you could just revive her. And if Minerva's the one that dies, then you still have the rest of your team, which is still most of the power. So I probably would not have done the move to boost clear or whatever it was. In addition to that, it's quite a big punch down, so you really shouldn't be boost clearing for a punch down that big. It just is like a bad waste of attacks. That being said, it's better to overkill with Captain Marvel than it is to underkill, so I'm generally okay with punching down this much. It's just, yeah, you got to be careful about trying to be like boost clear heroes here. You don't need to do it. Anyway, so that's it. Hopefully that helps you guys break down what's going on, and this will help us in future wars. Yeah.